I am your host, U.S. Army Flight Surgeon and Iraq Combat Medic, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold, and I have an esteemed panelist with me today. I read through his CV, and I was nothing but amazed at the content of the CV. Keith McKinley is a retired U.S. Army colonel. He was with the Reserve, the Indian National Guard, and active duty Army. Retired Colonel Keith A. McKinley served as a combined 35 years of service, including active and reserve duty in the U.S. Army and Indiana National Guard. Colonel McKinley conducted Army level and joint military operations in the Republic of Korea, Italy, Japan, Honduras, Iraq, and Afghanistan. I'm not sure there's any place you haven't been. He was an infantry second lieutenant at the Chicago State University ROTC program in 1993. As a captain, he joined the 101st Air Assault Division at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and then as a colonel, he was assigned to the United Nations Command Joint Security Area in Panmunjom, Korea. He went on to command 2 mechanized infantry companies in the 2nd Brigade, 2nd ID or Infantry Division at Camp Hovey, Korea. And I had the chance to actually serve with the 2nd ID and when I was in Iraq. A wonderful group, incredible people in that brigade. Colonel McKinley's military awards and decorations include the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, 2 awards, Bronze Star Medal, 2 awards, Meritorious Service Medal, 6 awards, Army Commendation Medal, 2 awards, Army Achievement Medal, 7 awards, Combat Infantry Badge, Expert Infantry Badge, Senior Parachutist Badge, Pathfinder Badge, Air Assault Badge, and a Ranger tab. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone with that many tabs on them. He is now resides in Southwest Louisiana, is married to the former Miss Farah Fontenot of Lake Charles, Louisiana. And they have 2 beautiful daughters, Gabrielle, 16, and Alexandra, 12. I had to have you back on just about your history, not even the topic we're talking about tonight. But today's discussion is going to talk about the Southwest Louisiana Veterans Association, which is a non-profit organization founded in 2015 by local veterans with a motto, for veterans, by veterans. Welcome, 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 Colonel McKinley. I'm just so proud of your history and what you have done for this country. But you can start telling me about what is this Southwest Louisiana Veterans Association?
Hey, so good evening. Hey, thanks a lot, Dr. Arnold. I tell you, your words were really kind. I got to make sure I send that check to you as we talked about prior to that. It's a great honor to be on your show. I heard a lot about what you all do and what you do for our veteran communities and the public. So again, thank you. I'm just very honored to be here with you today. So kind of like what you outlined for the Southwest Louisiana Veterans Association, by veterans, for veterans. Really what we see ourselves is basically a community of interest. So what we do is we facilitate communication among our veteran community here in Southwest Louisiana. We have a very large community. The hurricanes, kind of just census data, but depending on what you look at, about 8.3% of the population here in Southwest Louisiana are veterans. So what we do in the association is we connect veterans with other veterans, other networks, and then more importantly, resources to help those veterans out. As you know, when we were wearing the uniform, you had access to so many resources. We just had medical professionals from the VA where you have a network where you could reach into and, get help quitting smoking. If your car broke down, you could reach into Army Emergency Relief, get a grant or a loan to get your car fixed. If you wanted to hurt yourself or you're feeling depressed, you're just not feeling, like yourself, you could always talk to your section leader, your platoon sergeant, and they would talk to you, get you the resources you need. So what we found out with a lot of our veterans is once they take off the uniform, come off of active duty, they don't have that support structure. So we stood up the association almost 10 years now to kind of facilitate, to connect veterans together, and then more importantly, connect them to resources.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because our veterans, come back with tons of skills. I mean, uh, the experience that you have in the military, not only are you trained in different topics, electronics or transportation. I can just go through a whole list of different disciplines that you actually learn in the military, but it also instills in the people who are veterans a dedication to duty, perfection, and professionalism. And that is a skill that we don't always see out in the general public. So those people who have dedicated their lives, once they come back, it's actually like throwing diamonds into the dirt. Why would we get rid of those people? So I'm really, really pleased and excited about what your group is doing. And when you were mentioning those statistics, it really occurred to me the statistic you were mentioning, that's actually higher than what the actual number of people, the percentage of people who actually join the military at any point in time. So you're saying something like 6.2% or so of the population?
We've been affected by hurricanes over the last few years, so our census data is not as accurate. The
Yeah,
report I always go to is it's 8.3%. So in Southwest,
8.3.
8.3% of our population. Now, again, our population, we've had some, about a 9-10% decline in our population just with the hurricanes. We're still rebuilding our area here to the effects of those natural disasters.
Oh, yes, yes. But it's still really a high percentage on a national average. If you go to other communities or other states, other areas, and, you have one person down there that we love on our show, but he's a raging Cajun, John Wayne dude, his General Honorary. So, it's been doing a lot of great service for our country. So what do you think we need to do? Not, as veterans, of course, but as family members of veterans, as community members, as business owners, to realize what these people have gone through, who are returning, who have finished their tours of duty, and are looking for another place for employment or for looking for resources. What can we do to help?
So I'm blessed to live in a very, very veteran-friendly state. So the state of Louisiana, like several other states, we have, really go above and beyond to help out our veteran community. And, kind of like what we do in the Veterans Association is we connect them with those pre-existing systems. For example, a couple weeks ago, a veteran reached out to me having trouble finding employment. Well, we're blessed here because in Lake Charles, Louisiana, we have an American Job Center. There is a guy paid to just help out veterans. So he's a veteran. He knows veterans. He has a Rolodex of businesses that are looking for those skill sets. So the veteran who reached out to me was, prior combat arms, combat experience in Syria, he just kind of knew his background in schools. And he goes, okay, hey, here are 3 or 4 potential employment opportunities that we could help you out with. What interests you? So a lot of, really in our area here, we've been blessed with a lot of great initiative. The governor, local leadership, it's almost to the point where I don't want to say it's embarrassing, but it's if we need something in the association, we have a lot of sponsors that, give us grants, or, if we have a veteran who just got evicted out of his house, we'll work with, local hotels. And, it's amazing what they will do to help out our veteran population. So again, just very blessed, to live in this part of the state, and also our culture in the United States. My father served in Vietnam, and he would tell me the way veterans were treated, when he redeployed, from that war. But then, when I redeployed from, Iraq and then Afghanistan, similar to you, I mean, it was almost to the point where, private organizations, local establishments, just people off the street were very, very appreciative to your service.
Yes, yes, very, very much so. It was a different kind of world, I guess, than our Vietnam veterans. My father was in World War II, and my uncles. And, they were actually in incendiary teams and that kind of thing going through Italy and into Germany. And I had one cousin who actually was killed in Vietnam, but another one who came back from that experience and then went to Japan and, did some other things with the military. But, as people are coming back, we have to appreciate all the things that they've done. They, took an oath to defend this nation, and it becomes so incumbent upon people to, realize that, rolls our hands to take an oath, but the places for public debate and discussion and for building our nation is in the hands of the people. We only respond to what the needs of the country are. And we have to hold that as being a sacred trust that we hold, that we defend the nation at any point in time. That's our job. So what do you think veterans? What have they told you? Do you have any stories about veterans who, went through the program or have been, sort of tracking in a direction that you think is moving them in a better place? Because we have many things now with PTSD, physical injuries. Unlike World War II, you could be next to an explosion, and even in Vietnam, and you would be killed. But now, since we have central body armor and helmets and more protective gear, we're seeing people come with limb amputations, those kinds of things. Needing a little bit more in assistance for, rehabilitation and that kind of thing. Any stories like that where people were coming to you and you could see the need and, really helping them through that transition?
So what we try to do in the Veterans Association is, and I'll use an analogy that you and I had back in Iraq. Remember the saying, hey, you want to get left of the boom, right? And what that means is the way you want to negate effect of a IED right on the road is not after it explodes, right? You want to try to get it before that. You want to identify before you get into trouble like that. You want to get it ahead of time. So that's where we really focus. We really go out of our way to focus on just building a network community. So one of the things we do in the association every month, well, 10 months out of the year, we do socials, and we have a closed Facebook page. To get on our Facebook page, you just show your DD-214 or proof of service, and we let you in. And one of the things we really put a lot of resources is into doing these socials, because we want to build networks. What we want to get at is, what we've seen is when service members separate from the military, they lose that network. They lose that, they lose that battle buddy that says, hey, don't make that wrong decision. Or, hey, I think you probably drank a little bit too much. Why don't we stop and call it a night? We try to get ahead of that. One of the things on the wrong side of that is, one of the things I work on is I'm a mentor for the Veterans Treatment Court. And again, I live in a great state. If you're a veteran and you find yourself on the wrong side of the law, drug use, petty larceny, burglary, anything very, heinous like murder or, severe, armed robbery, something like that, you're not eligible for the program. But just veterans who find themselves on the wrong side of law, anywhere from 10 years or less, they have an option. They could go to jail and serve their time, or they can plead guilty. They can elect to go into the veteran treatment program. And what we do as mentors is we kind of work with them to get them back, on track. They just make bad life choices, and pretty much every one of the veterans that I work with in this program, to a man or woman, they just were separated from that culture that they missed in the military, and they started hanging out with, folks who do drugs or things like that. So that's what we really try to do, is try to get left of the boom, to try to build these networks. And then if you have trouble, we help them out. A personal thing I did last month is we had a veteran on the Facebook page, got evicted from his home. Him and his wife, were staying at a hotel. He was drinking. He had problems. hey, what I did is we sent them a note on Facebook. Hey, man, coming for you. And so what we did in the military is when you have a situation like that, what the MPs would do on post, you separate, drinking and domestic feuds are bad, right? So you grab the husband, I gave the spouse all our contact info. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to separate him overnight. We'll put him up at a hotel further down the road. And then we'll bring you guys together. Here are services that can kind of help you out, and then it was us helping it out. And then we go to a local hotel and, the price, with veteran, we're ready. I'm there with check in hand, ready to pay. They give us a really good rate to help out this veteran. So that's kind of what we do is we're putting our resources to get ahead of that, to build these networks to where another program we have is you talked about PTSD. Our VFW posts, they do a biweekly session where they sit down. Anybody can walk in. You don't have to be a veteran. You can come in and just talk about issues. We have chaplains there, counselors. We try to identify that. So, we have those resources to where if somebody, like if I wanted to harm myself or I'm just having a bad day, hey, I could reach out to my friend right here on my phone. I could call him or shoot him a text, and within like 5 minutes, he'll call me back, and we'll stop the world. One thing I like about veterans, the way we've all been trained, is when one of our battle buddies, one of our, soldiers, airmen, Marines, who are left or right, is in trouble, we're there for them. It kicks on. You don't, if there's a veteran that needs help, my wife knows that, hey, Keith goes back into, Army mode. I go out, we help this veteran out, we get him the resources he needs, and we speak the same language.
Yeah. And then you have a wonderful website. I was taking a look at it and it was home, SWLA Veterans Association. But really great information in there. So I'm not sure if there is something that you want to direct people to know that those resources are available to them. And maybe even for other people in other states to take a look at your website and think about how they can expand your concept, your vision of actually interacting with the veterans and helping them. And the court system, I think, is really a critical issue. Many of our veterans come out and then, they may do something like a DUI or, they, have a bar fight or whatever. And that could, really sort of wreck their time here on Earth by, imprisonment or when they really needed to have some help and they needed someone to intervene as you are to give them a better path to go forward. But anything where people can contact you.
Our website is a good start. Also on Facebook, you can hit us up on Facebook. We have 2 pages. One is an internal one for the closed group, and then we have an open Facebook. So Facebook is probably our most powerful tool just to reach folks and to get them to the resources they need. And our closed page, it's like all over the gambit. We get things to where, because we'll, as board members, we have to approve the posts before they go public. We'll get everything under the board to where, hey, I'm currently having trouble with my VA claim. Can somebody help me? Well, there's a lot of veteran service organizations, a lot of them are very aggressive. They go, hey, our goal is to get every veteran to 100%. I go, wow, that's a very lofty goal. And they go, well, we know we're not going to get them to 100%, but hey, it's better than 10%, right? We can get them above better where they're at. So, or anything, or is my favorite one is like, hey, I'm moving, could somebody help me move this couch, from my downstairs into my truck? And then like 15 of us will show up. He's like, well, I just needed like 2 guys, right? I mean, so we'll have our older generation. Where we really been focusing out is, kind of like you, our demographic is, the OIF, OEF, Iraq, Afghanistan era. And then we reach out to the younger, service members that are coming off active duty. Where we spend a lot of time is Vietnam. You talked about the Vietnam generation. We as a nation didn't welcome them back, the way we should have. And one of the things we really do with the Vietnam veterans is we talk to them about, mental health, all the resources they have at the VA. We have a really nice state-of-the-art VA clinic here that has its own mental health annex to it. And their generation, they won't seek those resources. And, somebody like me who's coming off active duty, I'll sit them aside. I'll go to my American Legion meeting afterward or VFW, and I'll say, hey, this is not where our military is at nowadays. Hey, nowadays in our military, strength is, hey, I need to talk to somebody, or I need these resources. So, we actually, what we see for our association, and we're a free organization. Anybody can join us. There's no membership dues. There's no anything. It's just, if you say you want to join the association, we'll add you to our distro list. And what we try to do is, even our numbers that have really been growing are the Vietnam era, because there's just a lot of things that we have access to nowadays for our veterans that they didn't have, when they took off the uniform.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When I was, part of the reason why I joined the military was I was a medical student and I was working in the West Side VA Hospital, which is now Jesse Brown Hospital here in Chicago. And I was so dismayed about the care they were getting back then. It's much better now, but I just got so angry. I joined the military that week, as a student, and that was back in. It was a cold day on July 14th, 1984. So I stayed with it, and I felt like there was a sense of duty and that they were just being mistreated. We had to do something to recognize their sacrifices and what they were going through. And my point is that if people come back from a war and people disagree with the war, the time to talk about it was like before the boom, as you were mentioning. You're a citizen. You're supposed to be interacting with the government, talking to your legislators, all that. That's your business. Our business is to respond if needed. And so those soldiers and who came back from Vietnam were just like walking on water to me. They were people who put their lives on the line for us. And we have to, really respect that and continue to respect it, even going forward into the future, looking at our service members that are all around the world. You've been all around the world. And it may be different for someone coming back from a deployment in, let's say, Africa or Middle East or, in South America, after having a long period of time there and coming back, and that adjustment switch could be also something that they have to go through. But any ideas on that adjustment switch?
So it's actually something, that I'm going through, so I did 30 years, on active duty. And I'll tell you, it's been a little over a year now since I came off active duty. It's been hard to adjust. And what has really helped me adjust are just, not only the Southwest Louisiana Veterans Association, but my local American Legion post. I would talk to folks in there to where, hey, man, I retired 10 years ago. Hey, here's some of the angst I had. Or yesterday, a friend of mine, I was talking to him, about, career move or something. And then he goes, hey, I was like you. Hey, when I retired 5 years ago, here's kind of, what I was thinking or where I was at. So it is hard to translate, especially an old, soldier like me who's been doing it for a few decades. And then my girls, right? My two daughters, all they knew was the military, and they just think it's so odd. It's like, wow, I can't believe that I'm going to start this school and I'm going to stay there until I graduate, but I tell you what has really been helpful is again, I'll hit it over and over again, these networks. I mean, veterans, we have so much in common. And, where I see a lot of us with veteran homelessness or, the veteran suicide or some of the other issues that, we are challenged with our community, if we could just reach out and talk to each other, if we do the same things that I did last year on active duty, that we're already trained as veterans, it would really help us out. But, again, I'll hit so much is for, everybody out there listening to the show, reach in. I mean, every part of the United States has some veteran service organization, everything from the VFW, Disabled American Veterans, American Legion. You have networks like, our organization, the Southwest Louisiana Veterans Association. You have Team RWV. Probably one of the best veterans groups I did is when I was up at Rhode Island for the War College. Team RWV, is a really great organization to where you connect through veterans through, runs. I never wanted to run a half marathon. So I met those guys, right? Team RWB, they kind of coaxed me doing a half marathon, my wife and I. So again, what I would just, say to everybody, watching the show is, don't underestimate those, networks that we have. There's a lot of great veteran service organizations out there, and they're ready to help. I mean, I've yet to see a veteran where, if somebody had an issue, question, or problem, they can reach out to that veteran, and your active duty or reserve duty, mindset will kick right in, and you're going to do everything you can to get that veteran the assistance, help he needs, or if anything, just listen. That's what most of us need, is just to talk to one another, hear our problems, find out that I'm not isolated. There's a whole bunch of folks out there that can help me.
This is fantastic. Excellent way to end. We have like less than a minute to go, but I am, as a doctor, I'm looking at your background, and you have all of your health workout equipment. This is something that I wish most people would do and have, make sure they're taking care of their health as they're going forward. And I'm going to have you back on because I want you to tell your story about what you did. I was reading through your resume, as I was mentioning before, and it's remarkable some of the things that you did as far as command positions and seeing the need to have a leadership role in the Army. So I'm going to bring you back on, Colonel McKinley. But thank you so much. You just helped a lot of people by what you had to say.